Hi everyone, and welcome to Leadership Module number 2. This is where we're really going to take a look at some of the data that we're going to examine for our epidemiology at-risk assessment. So we're really going to take a deep dive into what's going on in your particular area of practice or an area of interest to you. So we're going to look at some of those systems that are in place and examine the effectiveness of those systems, and also look at some potential as far as what your focus is going to be for your proposal for your population health project. So this is the foundation of really doing that assessment piece and looking at what is really relevant. And with that being said, we just completed our organizational analysis, and many of you have touched on or tapped on some population-based areas to focus on, and it's perfectly fine to go back and look at the information that you gain through your analysis process, both your broad and focused analysis, to really look at what is needed in your particular area of practice, or again, area of interest. So it's not only what we're doing right here in this course, but we're also thinking about what you've done in the past and what is appropriate for your particular organization of focus. So with that being said, we're really going to look at some of those very defined quantitative measures, and as we look at any type of data, we also need to apply our wisdom when we're looking at that data. Sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story, so it's really important to look at factors that impact those numbers, or how those numbers are drawn, to really define what area of focus you want to start shooting for your project. So you're going to be looking at biostatistical information, you're going to be looking at environmental issues, behavioral issues, socioeconomic issues. All of those factors play into the very complex experience of health or lack thereof. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at our module itself. So as we dive in, we're going to have our two forums, and the second forum in this particular module will actually be you posting your epidemiology at-risk analysis. So again, you're going to be completing your analysis. The first forum is really helping you to formulate that risk analysis, and I want to encourage you to work on your epidemiology at-risk analysis throughout this particular module. So get started right away as we're exploring different resources that you'll be looking at for that particular analysis. So this again is a process that occurs over time. Your readings are included in the Cup and Curley and Vitale textbook, and of course, as always, we're thinking about our thinking and looking at how some of those data-driven things actually impact what we do and how we need to rethink healthcare in general. So the TED Talk is relatively interesting. This is just a highlight of IHI's measuring the triple aim and some of those components that are looked at as far as the experience of care, population health, and cost. That trifecta of information that we really need to take a look at. And of course, there's an overview of the epidemiology risk analysis, and remember to use the matrix again and use that as the format for this particular project. And if you have any challenges with that, please let me know. The rubric for the matrix is listed here, as well as the rubric is listed here in the assignment Dropbox. So just know that that information is here for you. And also I've included quite a bit of information in the resources for success. And there are many resources to help you to kind of assimilate the kind of pseudo process that we're doing as far as health assessments and what we look at as far as that broad picture of the experience of health. And the context is actually basically health is experience where people work, play, and live, versus sometimes we have a view of health being experienced in an acute care facility, when in actuality health only is impacted in that particular facility for a very glimpse of time in the spectrum of life. So again, there are lots and lots of resources here for you, not an all-inclusive list by any means, but just know that the resources are here for you. So let's go ahead and go into the forum. Okay, for forum number 3, we're really going to take a look at that data that's out there, and we're going to look at some of the resources that you may be familiar with. The County Health Rankings and Roadmaps, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Community Commons, the U.S. Census. So much of this information may be very familiar to you, and some of the information was actually included in your organizational analysis process. So again, reach back to that information. You don't want to redo what you've already done, because the same information to a certain degree is very pertinent to this process as well. So again, we're building on what we've done in the past. So in addition to the data points, we also need to look at, much like we did with that broad analysis, looking at what's going on in the particular area as far as economics, social determinants of health. Are there pockets of populations that have a disproportionate experience of health disparities? Are there some areas of risk, which I believe the opioid epidemic has reached virtually every community, so that's something to consider as well. Look at the particular population. Some of you may want to be looking at some of the employees within your organization, possibly. Some of you may be looking at students or potential students, even some in maybe high school, those types of things. So there's different pockets of populations to focus on, and if you have any questions as far as looking at the picture as a whole, really the County Health Rankings is a great place to start, because you can do kind of it's a snapshot and kind of do an analyzation of that particular information. Typically guides one to some of the areas of concern, or maybe to refine a little bit as far as focus. And there may be some internal data within your organization that is very pertinent as well, as far as a certain population that is served, or a certain population that may be underserved as well. So all of those are factors to consider as you're looking at doing that epidemiology at-risk assessment. So we're again going to share our findings with each other and some information, and to guide each other to think bigger and broader as far as the context of population health, and also reflect back on your particular definition of population health and what that means to you, because that's kind of the ground post for this particular course as far as framing your thought process. You will also be doing a windshield survey. Is a really valuable tool to really go out and take a look at what impacts health, and this is a totally different view as far as what we typically see when we drive. We're looking for those factors that impact health. And there is an attached windshield survey form that may help guide your thought process and things to look at. But this, again, we're putting those pieces together that will help you as you're putting together the epidemiology at-risk assessment. So again, through the discussion board, we're building those pieces, and these are parts of your assignment that will be due in the next forum. So if you have any questions, concerns, always give me a call. I look forward to working with you as you start this process.